That's the question.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right.
Why aren't we talking about Johnny?
Why aren't we talking about Johnny?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now let's talk about Johnny's life-ruining accusations against Joshua Evans, Colleen Ballinger's ex-husband, if you don't know who he is.
Next slide.
This is the first tweet where Johnny accuses Josh of grooming him.
So this was a big deal.
Yes.
And I remember it kind of blew all of our minds because we're like, Colleen, her best friend, they're all in chats. And then when you learn like her husband too, it just all starts to get really bizarre. Johnny says, I was groomed by Josh as a teen. And then they literally ended up doing almost the exact same shit he did to me. Wait, I'm confused by the...
He's talking about like Adam's story. They did the exact same shit to me, he's saying.
They are no different, and there's so much more behind all of this. It was over a decade of manipulation and torment from multiple sources, and that's just my story.
So, there's that one.
Pretty cryptic.
Right. Then, Josh messages Johnny an apology, if you would like to read it.
This is interesting. And then he publishes the apology to give his story credibility.
You want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Okay. I was in the wrong. You felt abandoned or disregarded. That's the honest truth. I never would have done it. Oh, just for clarity, Johnny's final like communication with Josh was that after the divorce, apparently his mentor, man who was grooming him, totally ghosted him and left him.
Okay.
So, I was in the wrong, Josh says. You felt abandoned or disregarded. That's the honest truth. I never would have done it if I fully understood how it would end up. Your heart mattered then, and instead of handling it head on, I thought you'd lose interest and move to something else. That was incredibly wrong on my part. You were young and deserved transparency and protection. I straddled the fence on being like an internet big brother to you, and also feeling like it was becoming unhealthy for your well-being and development.
Hold on. That's an interesting admission.
Yeah.
Our relationship was unhealthy for your well-being?
I think that because Swoop does do a bit of investigating about their relationship and how close they really were. I don't, based on what Swoop has found, it seems that they were not super close. I think that Josh is validating Johnny's feelings in this message. I think that this was in good. You know what I mean?
Good faith.
Yeah.
So it could be construed as Josh just trying to keep this kid who's showing a lot of interest in him at arm's length. Okay.
This doesn't erase anything that you felt or went through. I thought you were a great kid. You seemed a lot like I was as a teen, so it felt okay to befriend you. It wasn't okay. I should have never interacted with you beyond some tweets and saying hi at a meet and greet. You deserve a happy and healthy future, Johnny. I played a role in messing some of that up. My hope is that this apology helps you see that you were never in the wrong. You wanted a friend. That's it. I gave you the illusion that I could be that friend, which at the time I genuinely thought I could be until I began to realize that the amount of attachment that you were feeling.
Interesting.
Yes. No,
Well,
it's blue because Swoop is in communications with Josh. Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, I can see this, like, definitely, if we're being as charitable as possible to Josh, as, like, he saw this and he genuinely was like, wow, I didn't know that he was, like, it was that serious, but I want to apologize.
Yes.
For how it made you feel.
That's what it seems to me. And then,
Also, he ends by saying, I genuinely thought I could be, until I realized the amount of attachment that you were feeling. And also, I mean, it could mean that Josh was responsibly keeping this kid at arm's length.
and we will see.
There's okay.
We'll see. So,
But the fact that Johnny published this to give, because this basically, when we saw this, we're like, oh, everything he's saying is true. Right? Or at least,
I do remember being like, oh, Josh is apologizing.
yeah, so what did he do? And Johnny, okay, interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So Johnny continues accusing Josh vehemently of being a groomer.
Not letting up.
Here he says, just as bad, if not worse, than Colleen. He doesn't get a free pass just because he's been doing everything in his power to save face. Joshua, after the divorce, left YouTube. He posted a few times, like, over quarantine and stuff like that, but he really ended his YouTube career with the divorce. So I don't know what he means by he's getting a free pass to save face. Everyone's forgiving him on my behalf, and it's pretty disheartening. I don't forgive him, well, yet, at least. Curious.
So again, he's laying it on real thick.
So then, Johnny posted, "How dare you call me vindictive at Joshua? After all you've put me through, how dare you?" And Josh responds and then includes the attachment where he does call Johnny vindictive in their DMs. But he
Well,
responds,
okay.
yeah.
He is being vindictive. The question is it warranted or not?
Correct.
He is being vindictive. There's no question about it, right? Sometimes it's warranted. But so what Johnny does here, he says, just as bad, if not worse than Colleen. When I read that, I'm hearing that something terrible happened. It's not
That's also
public,
what I...
right? Because how could he be worse? Okay, Joshua said, "I did. My voice was taken from me years ago. I was silenced and threatened repeatedly. I face my mistakes daily and have worked on myself. I will continue to do so. That being said, I will not be silenced again. My heart goes out to you, Johnny. I also deserve to protect my new life." More.
Yes. So this is after the first apology that Josh sends. Now he sends, "Johnny, I truly understand your anger. This is getting vindictive. I lost everything, and it's taken me years and years to slowly build my life back up from nothing into something worth living for. I never once had intentional, malicious intentions back then or now. My apology was sincere, not perfect, but sincere. The internet isn't my life anymore. It's not my job. I have a quiet little life and have been working so hard on myself to be okay after all the trauma I personally went through." He dealt with alcoholism and is now sober. Congratulations. Death threats, targeted bullying for years. They even went after my little sister. I lost a career and my self-worth. I was suicidal and dragged through the mud for so long. That doesn't negate your life and how you feel, and I'm not saying this to erase your experience. I just don't understand why you choose to go this route toward me specifically. I never went after you or anything remotely close to that. My divorce, my parents' sudden divorce, the alcoholism took over my life. I didn't want to live anymore. I'm far from perfect, but man, I'm trying.
So once again, I'm assuming that Johnny posted these. And it seems like he's not responding to him either.
Actually, Josh posted this publicly.
Oh, Josh posted this one. Okay, interesting. Go ahead.
Okay. You'll see the next one he does publicly, and it's just like, I'm just going to do this publicly to remain transparent. I want everyone to see it. So then he said, "What they did to you and to me was absolutely terrible. I played a part, but not to mold, control, or abuse you. You may not see that right now, but I'm doing my best to speak honestly. I should have reached out to you earlier. I was experiencing my own trauma and barely made it out alive. I don't say that lightly. It's just the truth. After years of suffering, healing, and growth, I'm here trying my best. I finally crawled out of such a dark place, a place that almost killed me. I'm human, Johnny. I didn't do things the right way at times, but I never intended to hurt you, ever. My entire life went up in flames in more ways than I ever want to divulge. Why try to burn it down all over again?"
I definitely feel like what he's saying is true about himself.
Yeah.
But I also understand how tricky it is for Josh to tell all this to Johnny when you're assuming that he's in good faith, sharing his experience. How do you approach that? It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So Josh posted this.
So, yes, and then Josh posts this public one. He tags Johnny. He says, "Johnny, I'm doing this publicly to remain transparent. I owe you an apology. You were young when I thought I could mentor you in a positive way. I should have never given you my number. That was inappropriate. I shouldn't have asked you to tweet on my Sarah account. That was his little character that he had.
Okay, those are inappropriate.
Right. It felt harmless, and I understand now that was a mistake. I made a lot of mistakes back then. I'm so sorry for ever making you feel disregarded and tossed to the side. My life was toxic and chaotic for a long time. I was toxic. I was chaotic. You were young and needed consistency and protection. I did not give that to you. Your pain is real. Your healing journey is real. My hope is that I can help remove some of the burden by acknowledging your experience and taking accountability. I'm sorry, Johnny, not for wanting to be your friend and internet big brother, but for failing at it and walking away in the way that I did. I hope in time you feel vindicated and at peace, regardless of how you feel towards me. I only wish the best for your future, Josh.
So, what was the response when he posted this?
He was angry. He was just like,
No, like
whatever.
the people's response.
Yeah.
The people's response. How did people respond to this?
Oh,
to Josh?
people were like, people didn't really know because we didn't know what Johnny was
people
alleging.
were probably telling him to fuck off. I
I'm
would
sure that
imagine.
there was a countless amount of people telling him to fuck off. I remember just being very confused.
Because he keeps apologizing, so you're assuming something,
Yeah.
you know, something happened. More tweets from Johnny. Joshua groomed me with Colleen. I was 15 when this all started. They double timed me. I was hit from both sides. Any OG fan knows this. They all saw the strange dynamic they had with me. The more that comes out, the better you'll understand. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah. And then if you want to watch, the link on this is just like what he proceeded to do when he went on a bunch of different podcasts.
So with all
and
of that
told the
context
story.
in mind, let's look at what Johnny proceeded to do. Over the course of the following month and a half, Johnny made YouTube videos, posted on TikTok, held Instagram lives, and every day he tweeted many, sometimes even dozens of times
Wow.
about Joshua David Evans. He vented
Wow.
on the H3 podcast, in my opinion, manipulating Olivia, Ethan, and Ela, who
Hey, I
have
know
done
those people.
tireless.
That's us.
Hey guys.
Oh!
Hi,
Hi, you look so cute.
Best
I
show.
think H3 podcast or the H3 podcast.
That's right.
Work to try to cover this story and support the victims. He told his story to me as well, and he reached out to Lily and Jesse of the Do We Know Them podcast, asking if they would like to interview him. Look, Mom, I'm on a podcast.
Not a great vibe.
So if you go to the next slide.
Now, during this time, Johnny was suspended for 24 hours on his new account. He was banned from his previous Instagram account and has now been...
Okay. Next one.
So
The bell is ringing.
after Swoop's 6-hour interview with Johnny, she reconvened with her team. They met. They talked about everything. She, this photo.
I love it. No, I'm just more the graphic.
Thank you. I did.
Swoop's
I did.
calling.
Swoop calling.
Will
Absolutely.
you answer?
Answer that shit.
You gonna? Would you
You
answer?
picking up?
Swoop's
Swoop's
calling.
calling. You
I'd
picking up?
answer.
I'm not getting on a call with Swoop for 6 hours. You're gonna turn my life upside down.
Destroy your life.
I'd be like, man, that was a great call.
That was an incredible call. Okay, so,
Dude, he must have been so blindsided by her
Oh, yeah.
video.
so in this
Wow.
phone call, Swoop tells Johnny everything that she knows. She knows that he was in group chats with kids. She knows.
Second call.
Yes,
she
this is a
confronts
second call.
him.
This is yes.
Mm.
She is asking him. This is July 20th, 2023. She calls Johnny. She asks him what he wants to do about the fact that she knows these things about him. He responds to
first
her
access to live show tickets.
that
Is that
he
you?
knows.
Anyway, thank you guys.
happened?
Oh, that's
your
big.
laptop,
dude.
So
That's
I know.
me. Sorry, guys. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so
No. Go back.
yeah, I want to. Where do I click?
So he tells Swoop that he knows that being in those chats was inappropriate and wrong. When Swoop asks him about taking accountability, he said that too much attention would be aimed at him and away from the Colleen victims. And then that's when Swoop decided she was going to make this.
Is there audio of this?
It's like
So there is audio of this.
there is,
It's
and
just-
I encourage you to
gotta
watch it. You'll,
Okay.
yeah. I'm consolidating stuff.
So in defense of himself, he says, "It's not about me; it's about them."
Right.
Essentially,
Right.
which is definitely a red flag, considering he's speaking so broadly about things that he's doing,
Mm-hmm.
and then when he's doing it, it's not a problem.
So
Very
she,
interesting.
She asks him what he wants to do about that, and she also asks him for full transcripts of all of his messages with Josh.
Ooh,
After this call, Swoop says that Johnny does not tweet about Josh again.
ooh.
And after some hesitation, Johnny does, in fact, send Swoop his transcripts.
He did?
He does.
How does she know that? Oh,
You'll see.
shit, dude. This is next level. I know what's happening.
Yep. So what Johnny did not know is that if you click the first clip, Swoop also asked Josh to send his Twitter DM
Swoop is
transcripts.
fucking bad.
Yo,
Yep.
you just got fucking swooped,
And he
dude.
sent it, Josh
You got
sent it
swoop.
right away.
Yo, that's crazy.
So Joshua sent his transcripts right away.
That's fire.
And his
Johnny, you got
transcripts, yeah.
you got bro. Swoop. Swoop. This is crazy. It's so sad. It's so satisfying when you can for sure, this is the truth. This is the swoop.
This is the Swoop.
Because John, you compare them.
Yep. Side by
Swoop.
side.
Slick. I love that slickness. All right, so I'm gonna click the first link.
Yes.
Hold on, girl.
For his Twitter DM history with Johnny, but I did.
About it. Laughing.
I didn't have to tell Johnny, but I did. And so when I asked Josh for his Twitter DM history with Johnny, he sent me a screen recording from top to bottom of 20 total DMs between 2012 and 2016 when they had stopped speaking. 14 of those messages were from Johnny to Joshua, and the remaining 6 messages were replies from Joshua.
20? That's it? It's not a lot. Were they communicating in other ways?
He says that they were also texting, but Swoop poses. She thinks that this is either all of the messages that they've exchanged and the rest is public on Twitter, or they have very few texts.
Okay. I mean, if there was a significant amount of other communications, I assume one of them would have brought it up.
There are more
As
doctor
evidence.
texts.
There are.
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at DMs, or are you?
Yeah, let's watch the first one first.
Okay.
Joshua answering 2 of Johnny's questions, meaning Joshua only ever answered Johnny twice in 4 years. Once to a public question Johnny asked him on Twitter, and the other to a question about a show that Joshua was playing. The entire exchange also began with Johnny initiating the conversation by telling Joshua that he was depressed and in need of guidance back in December of
One more time. How old is Johnny during this? Like when he says, "I'm depressed," that's the first message you sent him. Is he a minor or is he
Let me make sure.
an
Does that
an
say
adult,
2012?
quote unquote adult? Oh, I can pull it up. You want me?
Well, I can do the math to see how old Johnny was, because he's 27 now in 2023. I just can't
It says
read
February 2014 seems to be the first one here,
that. Okay.
at least that she's showing. Or well, hold on. This is no. This is December 2012.
2012.
Yeah, December 2012.
So he was 16?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's very young. Okay, that's good to know.
screen recording from top to bottom of 20 total DMs between
how old is
2012
Josh?
and 2016 when they
Josh
had
was
stopped
almost 30,
speaking.
I think.
Okay. That's a big difference.
14 of those messages were from
Or-
Johnny to
By the time
People are
that
saying 18.
it was, well, that was by the time that they stopped talking.
So, I was talking about in the
when
beginning.
they began.
He was 16.
He met them in person for the first time when he was 15. And then
Okay.
I guess they began on Twitter when he was.
Okay.
Joshua, and the remaining 6 messages were replies from Joshua answering 2 of Johnny's questions, meaning Joshua